Hi, I'm Hannah, and I just got an ask. If I butcher your name, I'm really sorry. Arilynn, I think. She said she's up and she's bored and she wants to hear my life story. So I started typing it out, but it's really long, and there are parts of it that get slightly complicated, and writing it is kind of a bitch if you're not trying to do it all formal. So, sorry for the shifting. So, I guess, I don't know where to start really. I was born in 1996. My mom had very low chances of conceiving and carrying to full term, and she was just recently hospitalized for being severely anorexic. She was 19. I was born right before she turned 20. And my biological father was abusive and an alcoholic and a gambler. And after my sister was born, she was born in 98, she's 2 years younger than me. 2 years of her life passed, and then my mom decided to finally divorce him. So she did. And for a while, we lived on our own just a little bit, visiting my grandparents, Babe and Poppy, in their apartments, and, going, back and forth, back and forth. And then Babe and Poppy had a house built out in Queen Creek. I live in Arizona. And shut up, phone. They had a house built out in Arizona. Queen Creek. I live in Arizona. And after it was done, we all went out there to live together. And, things in my mom's house were pretty fine always. We never really had a lot of trouble. I was a gymnast for 5 years, which isn't a long time in gymnast years, but it's a long time when you're young. And, I got really far. I was competitive at level 5, but training level 7, because I refused to do my level 6 bar dismount because I was kind of a brat. I trained with gold medal and Aspire both briefly, and Carter's for the majority of my time. Carter's was a blessing in disguise, for sure. I hated when I was there, kind of, because they were so rough and so strict, and Carter was, verbally abusive. Jack totally was. There's no way to sugarcoat that, but he got done when he needed to get done, and he produced champions, and that was what we were there for. I ultimately ended up quitting the only thing I was ever good at 11, because not too long before that I had recently learned just how sick Poppy was. He had all kinds of different things. He had a defibrillator in his heart, he had a mechanical valve, he had kidney failure, and, liver, dysfunction or disease. There were so many things. And August 27th, it was a Wednesday. I had gotten off from school. It was early release, so we get out at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays. And I'd come home with Lily, and my mom was like, okay, I'm ready to go to work. Are you guys good until Papa gets home? And we're like, yeah, we're fine. And he got home just after that, from dialysis. And, it was like an everyday thing. I had just gotten my snack from downstairs, and I was about to head back upstairs, and he showed up. And so, hug, kiss, hi, I love you. So then I went upstairs, and my sister came down to get a snack, and she went into the pantry. And everything there was free reign, and we knew that, but sometimes it was like, oh, Poppy really liked bridge mix, and so, if we wanted some, we'd ask, even though we knew he'd say yes. But, she wanted something that was, somebody else's to want, and, she said, Poppy, can I have this? And he didn't answer her, and she, came out of the pantry, and he had this chair that he used to sit on, and he was sleeping on it for, I don't even remember how long before that, a long time, because he couldn't make it upstairs. And he used to lean on it, to help catch your breath. And he fell. She didn't see it happen, but he fell. He was just flat on the floor, blue. It was There was no saving it. That was it. It was done. And she yelled for me, and I was the bratty older sister, so I was like, "What do you want?" She was like, she was 9. It's like, Bobby's on the floor and he's not moving. I just remember, I don't even think I stepped on any of the stairs. I think I flew. I literally was flying. I flew down the stairs and I didn't know what to do. I was 11 years old. Like, what do? You don't prepare for things like this, though maybe you should. So I ran next door to my neighbors and they weren't there, and so I ran down the street to, some of our friends. And the one day that our friend Maddie had skipped school, she never ever missed school ever, not even when she was sick, and the one day she skipped school was that day. I mean, I don't believe in luck and not really fate either, but something made that happen, and whatever it is, it was amazing. And she had a cell phone, so she called 911, and then I called Babe and I called Mom, and Babe worked out in, I don't remember if she was at Precision Drafting or if she was at Macy United Way at that point. I don't remember, but either way, she worked way farther out from where we lived, and so I called my mom, and she worked, right down the way, like 10 minutes, and she was, there. And all the cops showed up, and an ambulance, and it was just crazy. And the cops would not stop questioning us what happened, and we had to tell the story to like 5 different cops. And I was like, do you not understand what this is like? I'm 11 years old. Leave me alone. And it was horrible. And I remember we stayed over at Maddie's house after Babe and Mom went over to the hospital. And when they came home, it was either really late that night or early the next morning. I don't remember. They came over and they were like, Babe was a wreck. I didn't go to school for 2 weeks after that. All of our family's in Jersey. So we flew out to Jersey to have the funeral and everything. And then I didn't go to school for a little while after that. And that's when I quit gymnastics, because it was too much to handle at the time. And I feel like it was a bad choice on my part, but whatever, I can't fix it now. That was probably the most traumatic thing to happen in my life. I mean, that was just, and, so then after that, not much happened. I quit gymnastics, so I wasn't on, any strict after-school schedules or eating regimens, so I kind of went a little crazy, and I got kind of, big. I mean, I really didn't, because I was so small for gymnastics that, like, it wasn't really, but I felt like it really did, like, but, yeah, and so, life went on for the next few years, and it was blah, 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 whatever, and then I started high school, and there was some high school drama, of course, and I got into a few fights, not fist fights, verbal altercations, that's what they call them, and, one of my friends almost choked out another friend, and then I realized I was not friends with her at all. What are you doing? You are crazy. And, it got kind of dramatic and really nuts. And, yeah. And then after, Bobby died not too long after, my mom and Babe were not on great terms, I guess, and they got to, they started fighting with each other one day and yelling at each other. My mom threw a cup at Babe, a plastic cup, mind you. Babe called the police, and then she filed a restraining order, and it was ridiculous, and we had to live there because we couldn't live with where my mom was living, but my mom couldn't be within, 100 feet of the house, so we had to, walk to her car, across the street so that we could go to school, and then we ended up going and living with our friend Lori, who lived in, a 3-bedroom, little house she rented. But the 1 bedroom had all of their crap that they hadn't unpacked in it, and the other one they were in. So we all 3 of us, plus our dog, had to go live in a 1 bedroom, basically. And that was, craziness. And, we got over that, and then we got our own little townhouse, and then my mom met her current boyfriend, and things have been, rocky with that. They've been he sometimes gets out of control as far as, like, verbally they get into a lot of fights, and my mom, like, someone who's very open, like, they talk about everything, and they laugh, and, they're, everything has to be, like, discussed, and he's very like, introverted, which isn't bad, it just doesn't mesh well with, my mom's personality, and so sometimes it doesn't really work out. And, sometimes it can get a little physical, and it's like, upsetting, because it really shouldn't, there's no need for that. And yeah, now here I am, I'm a senior in high school, but that's my mom's side of the family, so everything's been pretty good with my mom. Everything gets kind of rocky of my dad's side of the family. So my dad, after she divorced him, he was not in our lives for a very long time. I don't really remember all the year increments because it was so crazy on and off. But I was 4 when she left him, and I believe he didn't come back into my life until I was like 6 or 7. So it wasn't a really long time, but it felt like it because I was little, And he wanted to see us, and so he ended up getting visitation rights, and so we saw him every other weekend. So we only saw him for 2 days. I think we saw him for 52 years every weekend. So we saw him like half of that. So like virtually never, which was kind of good but anyway. So yeah, I think we saw him like, it was like 26 days a year or something like that. I don't know. Whatever. No, it's 52 weeks a year. Just kidding. I don't know my maths. Okay. Anyway. So we saw him every other weekend. So we saw him like 2 days every 2 weeks, basically. And he's had a lot of girlfriends, which is weird because I don't find my dad to be a particularly attractive or interesting or intelligent man. But whatever. And he had this one girlfriend, Katrina, who was afraid of clowns, despite the fact that my dad had 2.5 clown tattoos, was obsessed with Bozo, and had a little poster that he hung above the bed, in the room that they slept in, mind you, and a little clown puppet hanging in the corner. She slept around all of this all the time, yet she was afraid of clowns. So we were not allowed to watch the big comfy couch when she was woodworking in the living room. She did those little wood burning things, like that was her thing, I guess. That was her hobby because she didn't have a job. We weren't allowed to watch it because she was afraid of clowns. I thought that was the biggest load of bull I've ever heard in my whole life. And since then, I've never understood a fear of clowns because I think it's bull. But whatever. Fine, if you're afraid of clowns, like, that's fine. But, like, don't be selective. That was so rude. Like, I'm like 6 years old. Like, really? Really, you're gonna be petty with me? Come on. She was kind of, like, secretly evil. And, I mean, you're a kid, and so you're always interested in what, the figures above you are doing. And I was like, wow, and she was really good at it. Like, I mean, I hated her, but she was really good at it. And so, I was like, well, what are you doing? And she was like, woodworking, wood burning and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And there was a time when I was like, oh, well, can I try? And she was like, yeah, sure. And as I was, doing it or whatever, I was going to let go, and it slipped, and she twisted, like, here we are working, right? Like, so this is me, and this is, like, her hand over mine. Okay, I can't do this, but, like, here's her hand over mine. Alright, right? Or, well, okay, this is my hand. Alright, this is my hand. My hand's over hers, right? And we're going, and I go to pull away, and she, like, flicked it up, and it burned me. I don't have a scar from it or anything, because, I mean, that was a long time ago, but, and it burned me. Happened like one other time too, and I never let Lily get near that thing because I knew she was evil. And then he stopped seeing her, I guess. I don't really remember what happened. I think there was another girlfriend in there somewhere, but I don't remember. And he couldn't really keep houses or anything because he had a bad habit of not paying bills. probably due to gambling, but I'm not completely certain. He was also a hoarder. I'm convinced that it was clinical. And so what ended up happening was he ended up getting help from my mom, who was in real estate at the time, and got a house out in Florence, which is also in Arizona. But it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like I don't know. It's far enough out there that, like, it's kind of like, are you serious? Like, that's unnecessary, but whatever. And our neighbor Brandy, I guess, had a crush on my dad or something, and it was weird. But there are a couple things in this span of time that, like, were kind of dramatic. Once, my grandma, Avery, on that side, Dad's mom, she hated me because she hated my mother, and I look a lot like my mom. Not now, because she has giant curly hair, and she's not blonde, but I'm not naturally blonde, but whatever. But I look a lot like my mom, and she and the whole side of his family hate my mother, so they hated me. But Lily, my sister, looks a lot like my dad, and so she was the golden child to them, which, I mean, I didn't lose out on much, except, well, who cares? They don't like me, whatever. But, yeah, they hated me. So one time they were over, and Grandma Avery wanted to go to the, what's it called? Flea market. It is Arizona. It is the summer. It's like 116 degrees outside. I do not want to go walk around for 2 hours under tents. Like, it's hot. And, like, we had just got done eating a Cracker Barrel. I liked green beans, but I didn't like the way that they made them, so I didn't want to eat them. And my dad had this rule, like, well, if you don't eat them now, you have to eat them for the next meal, and you don't get anything else. And it was the most obnoxious rule ever known to mankind. Well, I was like, well, I'm not going to eat them now. So we brought them with us, and we left them in the car while we were at the flea market. Not in a cooler. We just left them in the car. And when we got back to the car, my dad was like, well, we're going to go get pizza, and you're not allowed to have any unless you eat the green beans. But you have to eat the green beans right here, right now, because once we get to the pizza place, it's too late. And I was like, are you shitting me right now? Like, you're seriously going to be like this? Fine. So I ate the green beans. We've been sitting in a car under the sun in Arizona for 2 hours. Then I had pizza. Then I got food poisoning. And when I woke up, and I got sick, like, I threw up because I got food poisoning. And Grandma Avery came out, and she was like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I just threw up. And she was like, why'd you throw up? And I was like, I think I ate some bad green beans. And she was like, no, you probably just ate too much. I mean, you did eat, like, a whole piece of pizza. And I was like, first of all, she was convinced that I was fat, which was false. She was actually the fat one, so whatever. Second, we're talking pizza like pie, like traditional, like, like New York style, like Jersey, that area pie, like, like the big slice. So, like, if you put it on a paper plate, like, the whole end hangs off. Like, okay, so, like, eating one is really not that big of a deal, but if you eat 2 whole ones, it's kind of like, whoa, man, but, like, whatever. I was like, really? Just because I'm little doesn't mean that I can't eat a whole piece of pie. Like, you're a bitch. I was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's the green beans because I threw up a bunch of green beans. And she was like, well, whatever, just be more careful because you got some throw up on some stuff. And I was like, are you for real? And then for Christmas, or no, Halloween, that same year, I believe, she got a Oshkosh Bagosh, right? That's the brand. Yeah, Oshkosh Bagosh. Like, sets, the little, like, long sleeve and then, like, the sweat sets, and they were so cute. And they were, like, orange, and they said boo on the butt, and they had, like, like a little pumpkin and some bats or whatever, and they were so cute. Well, I was in gymnastics at the time, and I was, like, maybe, like, 84 pounds. I was really tiny. My sister was 2 years younger than me, and she probably weighed as much as I did. Like, she wasn't fat by any means at all. Like, she was average for, her age, but, like, I was under average, so we were about the same. but she was convinced that I was fat. And my sister was also an extreme tomboy, so like if things fit her like skin tight, like even if it was like this at the time, like something like this was not comfortable for her, because that's not, like, it had to be loose and baggy and stuff. She bought me a children's size, like, not like, I'm talking like if you go to the children's section at like Walmart, the biggest size they have, the extra large, the 14-16 children's size. And she bought Lily the medium 8-10. And I was like, are you serious right now? Are you for serious? And we got them and we were like, oh, thanks. And then I saw the size and I was like, are you kidding me? And Lily and I made, like a secret, and like we traded, because Lily wanted to be more comfortable in hers and I wanted mine to actually fit, because they were like 8 sizes too big. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I one time told her that we ended up switching them out. She was like, see, I knew those would fit. And I was like, these are actually Lily's, we switched because mine didn't fit and Lily wanted the big ones. And she was like so offended. And I was like, you're a bitch. But whatever. And then after my dad lost his house to the foreclosure, we ended up moving next door with Brandy. So my dad was like forced to be in a relationship with her. Well, she was a big baby. A giant baby. So my sister and I had to share a room, which was fine, like whatever. I mean, it's not really, but like at least we weren't homeless, you know, like, so whatever. Well, one time I was over at the house and I was getting something out of the fridge, and she had a fridge that was placed against the wall, like in a corner. So like when you open the one, okay, it had like the 2 doors, and like when you do this, it like hit the wall. Like here's the fridge, and like that. Like, you can't, like, overswing the fridge because you're hitting the wall. And she had a painting hanging right there, too. So, like, they were, like, if you open the fridge door, like, the painting and, like, the fridge door, like, this far apart. Like, that was poor placing. Whatever. And I was getting a drink out of the fridge, and I accidentally, like, I didn't even, like, let go and, like, swing it. Like, I was holding the door. And I guess I just, like, over pushed it too far, like, my arm span, and it hit the painting on the wall. It hit the frame of it, okay? It didn't do anything to it. It didn't scuff it. It didn't ruin the fridge. Like, everything was fine. It just knocked into it and it made a little noise. And I was like, oh. And then I, like, filled my glass and I, like, put everything back. And she was like, what just happened? And I was like, oh, I just accidentally hit the painting with the fridge door, but it's okay. I mean, like, I didn't, you know. She started crying. I shit you not. She was, like, bawling. And she was like, you just don't respect me or my things. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? My dad made me sit and write an apology. Like, legitimately, I had to write out an apology. And then he read it and would revise it and be like, that's not good enough. And I had to redo, like, drafts of it. And then I had to go and I had to sit down with her. And I had to be like, I had to read it off the fucking paper and apologize. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then one time she tried to call me fat because she was fat, okay? For the record, everyone involved in my dad's life who tried to call me fat and was all judging me because I was fat was actually fat, and I was not, okay? For the record. She was fat and I was not, okay? She made these, like, pumpkin chocolate muffins. They were so delicious. And we were sitting and we were eating them one day or whatever, and I think I had, like, 2 of them or whatever, which in my dad's house is frowned upon. You don't do that, but whatever. I had, like, 2 of them, and she was like, you might want to slow down on those. And I was like, what? And she was like, I mean, they do have a lot of fat in them, and, like, you don't want to, I mean. And then she, like, called my mom fat. She was like, she didn't, like, call my mom fat, but, like, she did, you know. She was like, I mean, you know, I've seen your family, and I know what it can do. And I'm like, the only person she's ever seen out of my whole family was my mom when she comes to pick us up. So, like, I knew that was, like, referencing that. And I'm like, you need to just not. And I literally was just like, I was like, my mom's not fat, and I'm not fat. And I was like, and if they're so fattening, and you're so worried about it. No, what did I say? I said something like, oh, I said my mom's not fat. And then I was like, and I'm not fat. And why are you eating so many then? And that was, like, the end all, be all. Like, that just, way over the edge. Done. They were so done. And, and then, my dad moved, from there into the townhouses that I was living in with my mom at the time, and he ended up getting placed there, and that was after being out of our lives for a little while again. And it was kind of cool, actually. They were, my parents were getting along, and we got to see him all the time because he lived right there. So, like, it wasn't just a sometimes thing, and it was kind of nice, actually, because he didn't ever unpack his stuff because he was such a hoarder that he always came over to my mom's house. So it was always my mom's rules, but just he was involved. So it was kind of like I got my dad, but I didn't have to deal with his actual personality. It was such a win. Um, and yeah, and then on his birthday, just March 27th, um, we got him 2 shirts, just, like dad things, and we took him over to his apartment, and we, like, rang the doorbell and stuff, and he wasn't there. And we were like, oh, okay, whatever. We'll just, take it back. And so we left it, and we tried again, day and day and day, and we tried for 3 days. He wasn't there, so we went down to the office, and we were like, hey, question, Michael Avery, he, apartment, whatever, I don't remember the number, but, still there. And they were like, actually, oddly enough, like, last Saturday, he just turned in the key and was like, I'm leaving. And so, yeah, he just kind of left, and he disappeared off the face of the earth. His Facebook got, like, totally deleted, and the only thing I know about him now is that he works for the city of Mesa still, and the last time he was doing that, he was, like, a sewage cleaner, so, like, good for you. So, yeah, I guess it's been a lot of ups and downs, and nothing, like, so traumatically bad other than, a few deaths, because actually my dog died of really horrible, like, crazy grandma seizures, like, horrible, horrible. So much that I didn't even say goodbye because I couldn't handle just being around it. And other than a few deaths, it really wasn't. My life hasn't been, so, like, tragic. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. There have been points in my life where I've been really down and totally, like, just hated myself. I mean, there are still days now where I'm like, really, that's who I am? Like, that's disappointing. But, yeah, and I mean, I've gone through times, that I'm not really proud of. I've not eaten for days at a time, and with no success. Tried to throw up, but that doesn't work. Apparently, I have a weak gag reflex, which is a good thing for some things, if you know what I'm saying. But when that's your goal, it's really not. And I did self-harm for a while in the form of cutting. Not on my wrists, not to die, just to kind of feel it and to have them there to always know that, I was kind of worthless. And I mean, sometimes it's worked. I mean, there are some on my arm right here. You can't see them in this light, but there are, like, some right here, but those are nothing really. They're all on my, like, hip and, like, upper thigh right here, only on the right side. You can't really see them because I am kind of chubby, which is a lot of what I did it for too, because I really kind of hated that a lot, especially coming from my background. But after I get out of the shower, something about the steam of the shower or the water, I'm not completely certain, dramatizes the white of the scar, and you can see them like 800 times better. I'm sorry. So, yeah. But yeah, no, there have definitely been bad times, good times, in between times. I've had to go through a lot of things in my life that, I don't think people realize I do, because not a lot of people have ever asked for my life story, so thank you. And the people who do know it in full are one person besides now all of you. So, yeah. This is like half an hour. I'm not sure anyone's going to watch this, but thank you for the ask. And um, I told my boyfriend actually that I was gonna go to bed like half an hour ago when I actually realized I had this message. So he's playing Batman Arkham City. So I'm gonna actually go to bed now. And yeah, so that's me. Um, bye.